Here we go. Brent, before we begin, I want you to be on your best behavior because I made you
Oh, I
fun.
love to drop swear words because I know he has
I
to
know.
edit.
Sorry.
Brent,
You'll have to
I'll
edit
do it
mine
all
out.
day long. I
Brent,
love tormenting this man. So as soon as
Brent.
I get into something, he's gonna get all pissy about it. Be like, I have to edit all that shit out.
All right, let's do this. Welcome back to Desperate Radio, where we talk about why work doesn't work all the time. And with me, as always, is my good old friend, Brent. Brent, before I introduce our guest, you ever had a really good burger?
Yeah, I think I had a really good burger. I feel like this is a trick question. Now you're
No, I'm just asking, have you ever had a really good burger and a beer? Like, for
trying to figure
good.
out if I'm vegan or
How much would you pay for a good
my
burger?
Mormon family's not gonna let beer comment.
How much would you pay for a good burger and beer?
I would pay quite a bit for a good burger. A Wagyu burger.
What if I told you that there's this really good place? You can get a nice burger and a nice cold beer. And if you don't drink beer, you just get a soda for about $7. What would you say to that?
McDonald's?
Nope. Wait, I told you a good burger.
Yeah.
That's not a good burger, right? So
Because it's fresh off the grill. You happen to be driving on I-15. You're like, hey, look at that billboard. A burger and a beer for $6.99. Should I stop?
yeah. Done.
Yeah.
If you're in a hurry to get to Las Vegas, would you still stop?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's worth the
And,
stop.
and that was a nice segue for me to introduce our guest today, Mr. Todd DeRemer of Primm Valley Casino. Hi, Todd. How are you?
Good. How are you? Vice President General Manager. We'll get it straight.
That I was
Yeah.
like, with the burger.
First time I met Todd, let me tell you, one of the nicest people I've met. And he said, "Hey, do you like a burger and a beer for $7? Does that sound good to you?" I was like, "Absolutely, that sounds amazing." We're offering this promotion.
We
Yeah.
barely had the billboards up, and we were rolling with it. Yep.
All right. So, Todd, should I tell people how we met, or do you want me to say it?
Oh, you can. Yeah, it's good.
So we met at Deck Alley Henderson. He was a guest speaker, and I was very intrigued. Why does the general manager of a casino wants to come and talk to us? So I was listening, and then he started talking about the games. He started talking about the transformation of the casino. Wait a minute, this guy in my playground. And then he did this thing, and I have to pull it up on my phone here because I don't have it on my screen. He did this thing where he talked about the 4 disciplines of execution. And I paid really close attention, and I said, holy crap, this literally sounds like it's in my backyard. As a matter of fact, I think Brent would love to hear more about this. So we became friends, told me about the $7 burger and beer.
Yep.
And I said, hey, I have this podcast. I have 2, as a matter of fact. One is about the community, one is about why work doesn't work. And I called that one Desperate Radio. And then he said, I want to come on that one and talk to you about more stuff. So here we are, Todd.
Yeah.
How are you?
What we're talking about today is the fun stuff that happens in leadership. It's creating culture, and it's creating a place where people want to work and they want to do their best. That's what we're all about, and perform at the same time.
So what I thought was really interesting is that you talk about the 4 discipline of execution. And one of the things that you had at the bottom, I'll put the screen up later
Okay.
for people to see what those are. One of the things that you talked about was that it changes culture and how important it is to change culture. So we're jumping right into the conversation because that's exactly what Brent and I talk about all the time, wherever we go. It's not about process. Everybody can do a process. Everybody can build a process. It's the culture. It's the mindset. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. Ultimately, every casino, like you said, can have the same slot machines, can have the same everything. But it's really, can you determine what are the real focusable items that the property can do and will make a difference? We call them wildly important goals. We call them WIGs. And what are truly the WIGs? And that will get you where you need to be. And so this isn't, hey, we should do X, Y, and Z by this, and it might get us a little bit. This is the stuff that, if you focus on 1 or 2 things, and that will get you to where you need to be long term. It really requires focus and it requires measurement, and it's ongoing. It has to become part of the culture. It can't just be, okay, we checked the box, we're done. This is about weaving it into everything that every supervisor and does within the organization. Anybody that's in leadership or that has responsibility for team members has to do.
I love this conversation because we're actually experiencing something similar to that in our organization, and we've been exploring some of the Disney methods of how that they start off with their what they call traditions, where they set the culture right out the gate, and you go through a series of days and traditions. How do you create that kind of culture in an organization that is really based around money and gambling and a good time at a casino?
Not all casinos are the same, right? It used to be the phrase that generally a casino would make money if you open the doors. The question is how successful it can be depends upon the leadership and the culture within the organization. Probably goes for every business, but casinos were the ones that people felt that pretty much you couldn't fail. We've obviously seen that change, and we just blew up the East Side Cannery and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But no, it's really getting down to you have to be there, and it's no different than the military or anything else. I can tell you this location specifically, we have Primm Valley, which is our 24/7 casino, and we have 300 team members that just run that place. Pretty well-oiled machine, and then every once a month or so, we will open up Buffalo Bills, which is an amazing facility. We have to get it open because it's just such a nice facility, and so it has an arena with a 5,500 seat capacity, as well as 1,200 hotel rooms. So think of the type of dynamic you need to have from a leadership team that says, okay, we're running this property over here that's a normal size and we're pretty good at it. But next weekend, we're going to open 1,200 more rooms, 300 more slot machines. And by the way, we'll put about 4,000 people in that arena, and you need to figure out how to handle all these people and feed them and make sure that they're satisfied with their rooms and make sure the rooms are good from the last 3 weeks we rented them and all of that stuff.
Wow.
You think about what it takes for a team to be successful. And since we've gone to this model in October, every time we open it, we get better and better. We're starting to get feedback that the room quality is really good. We've rolled out things, just be creative with the team members, and they do things like a VIP basket, and we didn't do those before. And we know that late at night, if we don't have food options everywhere, things like that will help the VIPs still have some snacks, and then they don't get frustrated if they can't get food because they're 30 miles away from anything else other than what happens at Primm. So we've just got really creative, and we've gotten really good on being able to count on each other, whether it's the casino VP or the hotel VP or the casino shift manager and the cage manager. All of those folks have to understand we have one goal. It's to win every customer over so that we can truly keep building. And so our goal is to build the demand so that we need to use those hotel rooms every weekend. If we outgrow Primm, which we think we will do, not shortly, but within 4 to 6 months, we're filling those rooms every weekend. Now we got to go into Buffalo Bills, and we figure out how to open Buffalo Bills every weekend, and then it turns into a new staffing model, and everybody will have to get creative again. How do we find people, and how do we do this? But without everybody having the single goal, which is to get Buffalo Bills open on the weekends and beyond, they don't understand that I now need to do X, Y, and Z to build loyalty. I've used the phrase, experience generates revenue. People don't quite link that until you say that the quality of the room will make you come back. The quality of the room, if it's clean, safe, and fully functional, I use those words a lot. But if it's clean, then you believe the rest of the facility is clean. If you check into your room and it's not clean, what are you going to think about the kitchen? So it carries all over, and people don't understand how that customer journey links up, and teaching every team member that is very important so they understand it, that when you're cleaning that room, you affect food and beverage, you affect gaming, you affect everything, right? And it takes a lot to get people to understand that and really to break it down to each position so they understand really what their role is.
Now, Todd, I'm going to just call out the 4 disciplines real quick, just
Okay.
because there's a specific question I want to ask you. They
Okay.
are focus on the wildly important,
Yep,
act on lead measures,
yep.
keep a compelling scorecard, and create a cadence of accountability. Which one of these resonates with you personally, and why?
So I think the toughest thing is developing a compelling scorecard. And as executives, we can sit in a meeting and we can say, this is what's all important, and we know that's what's going to make a difference. But if I take that scorecard, I go down to a GRA and say, here's the scorecard, this is how we win, and they go, guest service scores of 5.0 or above, what does that mean to me, and how do I get there? So the key to creating a compelling scorecard is go to the team that's doing the function, and what do you think you have to do to win? So if we say, if we want to decrease check-in times from 5 minutes to 4 minutes, you have to go to the GRAs and say, what do we need to do, and how would you measure that? And so that's the key. If we can develop scorecards all day long and we can force it down their throat, they won't do it until they understand. It's just that simple. And that's the one that I find the hardest, because people just want to say this is the measurement instead of pulling in the team and understanding their measurement. You know what you want and what the measurement is, but you have to figure out what the team's measurement is going to be to get to that end result. And that and act with lead measures goes together, because it's hard for people to understand and figure out what's the lead measure of something, because once you get the P&L, it's too late. You can't affect it. Once you get the DMR the next day, that's history. There's no way to change those results. What are the things that people do every day that affect those that you can measure before you ever see that report? And that's key. We've done things like, if you're trying to sell something in a specific item, if you're trying to sell whatever it is, we use the Players Club on the casino floor a lot. And so if we want to get you in the Players Club, the key lead measure would be, of all the team members out there on the floor, how many people did you talk to about the card today? And that's the lead measure, because if that goes up, at some point your conversion rate goes up and the people going into the club goes up. And so that's the type of stuff that you have to teach team members. And this piece starts at the executive level. You first have to get the commitment, because it's a whole different process than just running a casino. It's doing things differently. And then once they buy in, you have to have the patience to pull everybody else along with you and include them in the process. Instead of just say, all right, here's what we're going to do. When you think of a scorecard, what's winning look like? That's the end of the day. And the phrase in the book is, bowling through a curtain isn't any fun. And they talk about playing basketball. Watch people shoot around and play, and then as soon as you keep score, watch the competitive nature go up.
Yeah.
And that's the way your team members will be on the front line once you get a competitive spirit and they know what it looks like to win. They'll want to win. You just got to show them what it looks like.
I think it's a great segue into something that Brent and I often struggle with.
You're acting. You
in
know
the
where I'm going.
transformation. Go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
you already going there. Like,
Yeah.
same thing.
Which discipline do leaders usually underestimate or not hard to sell them on? Because it's usually if it doesn't start with leadership, it's gonna fail, isn't it?
Absolutely. The biggest thing is ultimately those leaders have to want to develop first, because this process is going to develop you before you can take it down to the next level. So when we do it as a team, we will read the book, Four Disciplines of Execution. And so if your first response is, you want me to read how many pages by when? We're not going to get there. This might not be the team for you. So because it's not, at the end of the day, it's not about reading a book. It's about learning a process that then will roll out to the entire culture. And this process, as it gets done, that's what gets you to the next level. When I was here at Primm from 2000 to 2005, 20 years ago, we actually did this exact process, and we picked up 20% of EBITDA over 18 months just using this process. And so we know it's successful. I've used it other places just at a department level as well. And no matter what you do, whether you only lead a small department or you're leading a big property or a CEO of an organization, this applies to everything, because at the end of the day, it rolls down, and every department leader should have a scorecard for their area. And it should align all the way up to the master scorecard.
Talk about the industry that you're in. That's such a legacy industry. There's legacy environments, legacy practices, legacy employees and leadership. Yep. How do you push through? How difficult is it to find a way to get through that legacy mindset?
The challenge is finding the right leadership from supervisor on up. And usually for us, what we've done is we've done specific supervisor training. He did some great stuff, and we used him at a couple properties. And he would do training, and he would help us with processes. We had one that was called a product description and service commitment. And so it's an interesting concept. Mac always said process will save you. And so you would develop a process for everything. And his key was a product description is why you exist within the organization. Think back to the buffet days. If I'm a busser in a buffet, what's my job? And his flat out saying is, get them in, get them out. That's all your job is. Because the idea behind the buffet was feed them fast and get them back to the casino. Yeah. So if I tell a busser your job is to get them in, get them out, what do? I clean the tables fast. I deliver drinks. I do all that stuff fast and get them out of there. And it's that simple. So every position in the organization has a product description. Why do you exist? And as soon as you know why you exist, that's your compass. Exactly. If you're questioning, what should I be doing? That's what I do. Casino host is a perfect example. Their job is to keep you coming back, create a memorable experience. We've used the term part people with their money. That's their job. Get them to come in, spend more money. That's it. In a relationship way, and make sure they have fun doing it. But if you understand that's my job, that's what I do, I'm going to find a way to do it the best to my ability. And then we had service commitments. It says these are non-negotiable service commitments that you're going to sign off on today, and you're going to commit to doing this. Or, that obviously if you choose not to, then you don't work here, because it's something that we determine this is what our guests deserve. And so you have to deliver on those commitments for us to be successful. And use those in your interview questions. Like you just build this whole organization around everything that goes with where you're trying to get to.
Let's talk about selling that execution in such an environment. How do you communicate the value of discipline without it feeling like, another initiative, another process change? You know what I'm talking. Even though they're looking at you and smiling, they're rolling their eyes in the back of their heads.
Sometimes.
Yeah. It starts with, you got to have passion about what you do, enthusiasm, high energy. And then it's really, you have to make sure they understand the why. At the end of the day, that's what it is. We're not doing this just because I want to do it. That's not why we're here. We're doing it because this is the right thing for the organization and every benefit. And if the organization benefits and improves, then everybody improves. And that's the key, is really understanding who you're talking to, what the why is for them, and what motivates them.
So if you notice that we're asking a bunch of questions because at the end, we want to talk about what you do or what you implement there at Primm Valley Casino versus how do we do our things. Mm-hmm. So you'll see that there's so much similarities, and which lends itself to the theme of today's episode. Agile by any other name. Like everybody's doing it. Nobody knows that they're doing it. Let's talk about culture shift versus process change. How do you move from compliance to ownership? Because that's something that we always run into.
Clearly in the organizational shift, you have to fix the processes. You have to make sure that there's processes out there. If we're doing a process, just to do a process, get rid of it. If it doesn't serve any purpose, understand why we're doing it, but then get rid of it. And then it's shifting into get them to be business partners. At the end of the day, that's what we want. So dealers, table games dealers are the ones that you really need to get as a partner. And so when you do that, you got to understand what's in it for them, right? How do I get every change that I want to make to be motivated by tips? So if I have one of the slowest dealers on the planet, how do I get them to speed up? More hands per hour you get, the more tip opportunities you get, your tips will go up. Straight and simple. It's in your best interest personally to deal faster and to interact with the customers and to like them and build relationships with them so they come back. It's in your best interest when you're sitting at a dead table, which means no one's on it, and a guest walks by, to call them over and ask them if they want to try and play. It's in both of our best interest to do that, but you have to understand why would they want to. You look at somebody who's EBS or a porter, whatever you call it, their job is to keep the place clean. And you have to get them to understand how important that is. So, for example, if a slot machine has a drink on it, or it's got an ashtray with ashes on it. So we use the three things: clean, safe, fully functional. Their job is way more important than they understand until you teach them. If that machine's not clean, no one will sit down and play. I actually had about a month ago, a guest called me with a bunch of stuff that didn't go quite right, but she said, "That is the cleanest casino I've ever been in my life. I've never seen one so clean." And I said, "Yes, the clean part's working. We're getting there. And the other stuff is not quite there yet, but the clean stuff is getting there. It's good." When that translates over, the people that stop at Primm Center for gas and go in and get pink box donuts, or they go in to get sodas, use the restroom. If the restroom's not clean and they stop on the way to Las Vegas, they're not stopping on the way back. And it's teaching them that's what their job really is and how important it is to the organization. And as soon as they learn that, they start to smile. I had a lady that was cleaning a casino floor at one of my properties, and I thought she was raising her hand, but she was going like this, so I automatically high-fived it. And it just turned into this thing now, where every time I saw her, I high-fived her because it was a thing. And then we created within the culture at our management meeting, we now had a high five. And at the end of every meeting, you had to give somebody else on the team a high five. And it started just from this thing that really wasn't anything and turned into something that was part of the culture, which is cool when stuff just develops.
When you go out to the casino, and I assume that you play, what game do you play?
Depends.
He's not going to answer.
No, it depends. I typically play slots. Table games tends to become work for me, but it makes me think too much.
I will say that I have sat at tables where the dealer, I thoroughly enjoyed them, and I've lost a lot of money in dealers that I thoroughly enjoyed because I wanted to sit there. It was a good vibe. I wanted to have my drinks, and I'll fluctuate and whatever. I know they have no control over the way it is dealt, but a friendly, clean dealer, I'll sit there. Yeah, I agree. I love it.
Do you ever get people that abuse the hospitality, the friendliness? on both sides, whether it's a guest or somebody that works there, these implementations and changes and transformation that you're putting in, and you show there's a difference. Do you ever run into people that abuse that from either side? And do you have any examples, or how do you deal with it?
It's usually from a slot machine standpoint, it's guests that they call it free slot play. I don't know if you're ever familiar with free slot play or not, but you'll get an offer to come in, and then every slot player will never say no to free slot play, and they always want more.
On my card right now.
It's a fine line of giving a player enough free play to get them to return and get them to understand that we want them to have a great experience. So if the machine's not going your way, we can give them a little extra free play or something like that. But when you do that, you have to be careful, because depending upon the individual, now they're going to expect it. And so you have to be very careful when you give it to them in the first place and explain what's happening. We value you as a guest. Here's why we're doing this. This isn't a common thing. We won't be doing it every time you come in, but we know your experience wasn't as good as we'd hoped it to be. And that's the key, just presentation.
What I loved the way he was talking about was, and it almost seemed to me, Haas, and maybe you can relate to this, when from a guest experience, from the point that they check in to when they go, whatever they're doing, maybe they go in the casino, maybe they go to the restaurant, or whatever it is they do, to staying in the hotel, to checking out and all that. It almost sounded like a Gemba walk, if you will,
Yeah.
whole life cycle.
Yeah.
And then it seemed to me that the Primm organization is also monitoring a lot of the cycle times in between. How long does it take to check in? How long does it take to sit down? How long are they in the buffet? Like all of these cycle times are being monitored, which is really similar to, for example, software industry, where we're literally walking from the point of creation to a deployment, if you will, of perhaps software, and then the cycle times in between. It sounds like you guys are doing exactly the same types of behaviors, just in a different
I was
atmosphere.
going to say, Todd, I'm not sure if you're familiar with what a Gemba walk is. Basically, walk a mile in your customer's shoes. That's what it is. So you go through the entire experience from the minute you make first contact with them to the minute that they walk away from your business or your industry or your service. So you get to map out all these steps, and you get to map out the customer journey to say, where can we improve on this? So it sounds like you guys are already doing a lot
That's
of
what we
that.
call the customer journey.
Yeah, Gemba walk is just a Japanese term. I think Toyota started that version
Yeah.
of it or whatever, but same thing.
Depends upon the property. Right? We don't have valet here, so your first stop is going to be the hotel front desk. So we know that if the hotel check-in is not the way it should be, we're going to have a hard time recovering the rest of the way. And that's really how we look at that stuff. And it just goes everywhere you go through that process. We measure how long does it take to check in. We measure how long's the wait at the restaurant. How long is a beverage round on the casino floor. We measure that, and we know that there's a specific time. And I can tell you the most important thing is the first beverage. It seems like you wait the longest to get. We monitor all of that stuff. At Primm, we're pretty sophisticated from an organizational standpoint. We've been doing it a long time.
What do you do with that data? Because now in our industry, we've also seen, we'll monitor all these things, right? And we've seen good and bad behaviors of this, right? And this is, so we're talking a little bit about that. We've seen the good behaviors of where we use that data to find ways to streamline it as best we can.
Please don't beat up your employees.
And I'm sure you're not. But in our industry, and we coach this all the time, right? Like we've had customers, because in our industry, we're dealing with an external customer that's oftentimes wanting to see that data. In that response, they often use it as performance metrics against our contracts, if you will. And if that data isn't utilized in the right way, meaning that, hey, maybe there's an issue with an environment, we're talking IT terms. Maybe that's why the deployment's taking a little bit longer. Maybe there is an issue with the team construct or skill sets or different things like that. But there's a lot of ways to look at that data to actually streamline and figure out the real problem that doesn't necessarily point directly at any one individual. So what would the casino do to utilize that data to streamline some of those types of points?
So mainly it comes back to keep a compelling scorecard, right? So
Sure.
if we develop the right scorecard, we know that, let's say it's check-in times, right? If it's check-in times, we will have that on the scorecard for the hotel, right? And if it's important enough, it will make it on every scorecard all the way up. And so when we do that, we look at different ways to make sure that we move that in a positive manner. That metrics will end up becoming supervisor responsibility. And that supervisor has to have the right approach, which is not, hey, there's the slowest person, beat them up. It's, okay, my job is to improve that score on my shift. So for me to improve that score on my shift that I'm accountable for, I'm going to go to the person that's having trouble, and I'm going to figure out how do I make them better.
Yeah, and it could be as simple as maybe their computer doesn't function very well and they can't see. It could be.
It's exactly that. And so we create a competitive environment between whether it's the supervisor shifts or departments or whatever. So it's not that they're going to beat somebody up. It's we want to win because our shift is going to get whatever.
Leadership.
Really, yeah, we used to do some really fun stuff. So we would brainstorm in meetings when I was here last time, and we focused solely on slot service times and how long it takes to get a jackpot paid. And back then we had coin too even, so we were still filling hoppers and things like that. And so it was truly service time. And we're in a brainstorming meeting, and so what should the trophy be on who wins the shift each week? And I had this 8-ball sitting on the back of my desk, and I'm like, okay, here it is. This is the traveling trophy. Whoever wins the magic 8-ball gets to put it at their property for the week. And before you knew it, each slot department was so excited to have the 8-ball. You'd walk over to that casino, and they'd be like, look it, we got it this week. And it wasn't monetary, it was pride. Each
Love
team members
that.
have pride. You can create a happy competitive environment, not a negative, you're losing, but you want to win, and that's the difference.
We did something similar to that. We had the Sharkies.
Sharkies, I remember the
We'd float
Sharkies.
the Sharkies around, whatever department was really killing it. And even now, we have these big golden Sharkies because we do a Shark Tank innovation. And so what we'll do is we'll bring in all of the best ideas from the organization. They'll present them just like in a real Shark Tank, and we have judges that are willing to invest in these types of ideas. And whatever department wins that particular innovation funding, if you will, we put a big shark statue right in their section, and they celebrate that they are the award winning for 2025 or 2026. We'll be doing new ones this year, the Sharky Awards. And it's just like what you're saying. It's not monetary necessarily, like they're actually doing something for us as an organization. But
Right.
Yeah, you don't have to be stressed out about it. Yeah, it's serious. But I often have this mindset that if we're spending way more time with people that we work with than the people that we actually live with at home, I need to enjoy my time with them. So I'm going to make it the best time that I can spend with them. And it's not just agile transformation or exceptional focus transformation. It's really culture change. It's a culture change that starts with, do I want to be in a better place or do I want to continue being miserable? And it does start with leadership. So there's a lot of similarities between the two worlds. What do you got coming up that weekend?
yeah, what do you got coming up?
I can tell you, April 18th, we have the Icons of Classic Rock. That's probably the best one to come to right now. We haven't done Classic Rock for quite a while, so we're excited about the Icons of Classic Rock.
April 13th?
Big hair and
that'll be
everything.
Buffalo Bills
Should we
Arena.
wear wigs and come wearing
Yeah,
big
you need to
bananas?
Some of these folks were in Raiding the Rock Vault way back when, if you're familiar with
Okay.
that one, if you've been around Las Vegas for a while. But no, it's a great show. They go all over. I'm pretty excited to see Rock in the arena because we haven't seen it for a while, and the new video walls and all that stuff we have. And the arena is an amazing thing. If you haven't seen it, you've got to come out. It's probably
writing.
the best kept secret to see a great show.
April.
And we can get a room and 2 tickets for $99, all in under $100.
And a burger for how much?
And a burger
Iron-
and a burger and a beer for $7.
$6.99, we'll give you the penny. It's under $7.
Well, Sam will
right?
probably take the penny. Appreciate the gesture.
Yeah. You might have
All
a
right.
connection where you can do a meet and greet if you'd like.
Oh,
See
God.
some
All right. You can meet the real
Yeah.
big guy.
Oh, then we can't do it.
Hey,
That was not the kind
it's a
of
maestro.
That
It's
is
a maestro. Hold on a second.
But if you bring Lorraine, then we'll for sure get you backstage.
All right. Todd,
Fantastic.
this has
I
been great.
loved the similarities, and I really do think, Todd, just meeting you, you have a phenomenal presence, and it definitely are on the right track from my perspective of just everything that you're doing, and I'm wildly impressed, and
If
even
anything,
so much
you're
that I want to go to your casino.
If anything, you reinforce exactly what Brent and I's been talking on the show for the last year now. The idea of that it has nothing to do with process. It has nothing to do with framework. It has to do with culture. It has to do with mindset. It has to do with willingness to be open to change. So if it's not
Process helps.
in here, process is the tool on how you
Process
get there.
You got to have it.
Yeah, you gotta have it. You need
gotta
a North
have
Star.
it.
You need a
The
North
process
Star.
and the framework is how you get there. If it doesn't start with you, and if it doesn't start with your mindset, you're not going to get there. Any process can be put in place, but if you don't have the conviction of why this is helpful, then you're probably not going to be able to sell it to the rest of your staff and the rest of employees and your leaders.
Yeah.
So my last question to you, Todd, if you had to do it again or give your younger self advice on how to do this correctly, what would it be?
I think the key is not to focus on what the next job you want is. Be the best at the job you're in now, and that will get you to the next job. Performance leads to promotion. right? That happens. But if you don't perform, you're not going to get promoted. And so you have to make sure that you understand when you're doing your job the best you can, it's to make the organization better, not for the promotion, because those are the folks that don't get promoted, right? Because they're in it for the promotion, not to make the organization better. And when people see that, they will promote you because now you have more influence and you'll make the organization even better. That's
Oh my
the key.
God, could old friend of ours. Could you please talk? Haas, I think you know who I'm talking about, but I would love Todd to tell him that. I love it.
If the goal is to get the next job, you'll never get the next job because that shouldn't be the goal. Right? That
I love
next
that.
job will come because of what you're doing today, and that's
Right.
the key.
Todd, how can people reach out to you, and what do you want them to know about Primm Valley Casino?
What we want them to know is casino promotions. So they're going to be the best in the city. Come out, see us, get a player's card. We're probably the only place that's offering a free shot at $1 million if you sign up for the Players Club. That's not happening anywhere else. We have a burger and beer. So we are the best stop on I-15 back and forth, wherever you're going. And then we're one of the best gaming destination resorts and soon to be one of the best entertainment facilities. You're going to see a lineup of entertainment that you'll be surprised, both in the arena and in the Primm Event Center. We have some really cool stuff going on. I will leak a little bit because it just came out, but we have 2 new residence shows coming up starting March 27th and 28th. Everybody needs to know about them. One's called Hypnoti and one's called Sexy, a burlesque show. And get those.
Changing
Yeah.
the date on my piece of paper, right?
Yeah. March
Sexy
27th and 28th is the
on
first weekend.
March 20.
And then they'll go every other week for 5 weeks. So
right.
there are a couple of residencies. We moved out from Las Vegas to here, but that's it. And now Jennifer Ramos is coming out here and going to do a heck of a show. And Tom Kaz will do a great hypnotic show as well. By the way, we might have table games towards the end of May.
That's wonderful news.
Yeah.
Please make sure you visit Primm Valley Casino. We'll put a lot of information up on the screen and we'll put it in the description below. So if you want to know some more about it. Todd, you don't want this to end. Now that we're at the end of the program here. This is such a great conversation. By the way, last time Todd and I talked in person, there he goes. There. Oh, go ahead. Just do it. I see it already. I know exactly what you do.
Oh, I was going to say that if you see this guy out there on the casino floor, don't tell me I have to take glasses off. This is part of the show. I'll be at Primm Casino, just so you know.
Awesome.
Todd, any lasting words before we go ahead and sign off?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. Brent?
Unless you want to know, like you always start them out, what's something unique about you? You didn't do that this time.
What is something unique about you, Todd?
That's going to go back to the front.
I know. We edited and put it on the front. Please tell us. I'm so
We've been
sorry.
doing this for a week. What's wrong with you? It's only been like a couple of years.
So what most people don't know about me is that I play hockey my whole life. And I play goalie on top of it. So I'm the only normal goalie you'll meet. The rest of them are crazy.
So I usually start every cold open on Hello Henderson when I'm by myself and say, is there something you want the world to know about you that nobody knows about you? And then,
I play
and then you say,
goalie. I play hockey and I play goalie. And by the way, I broke 2 masks in my life.
wow. All right. Mr. Todd DeRemer of Primm Valley Casino, thank you so much for joining. Brent, thank you as always for helping me carry this show because without you, it'd be very dry. You're much funnier.
Checks in the mail. I'll be gambling it up.
Yeah. Awesome.
For everybody out there,
Thanks for
thank you
having
so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share this with somebody that you know. Share it with a hockey fan. Share it with somebody that goes to Primm Casino or interested in going to Primm Valley Casino. Let us know what you think down below. And if you ever want to be part of the show, just comment below and let us know what you want to talk about. And we'll make sure we get back to you. Thank you so much for tuning in and stay tuned. This is Haas and this is Desperate Radio.
Because I don't think I should handle it.
Man, you'd be surprised. You would be surprised.
No.
We're in front of you.
I find myself in jail pretty quick.
So can I use this story as like in the post credit or something like that? Because I do a lot of outtakes.
We can use it.
Now he's rethinking what he did.
Yeah, Todd, I'd be remiss if I just don't bring this little tiny story from Tech Alley Henderson.
Okay.
And
Kept
she
going.
kept that going.
Kept
And it's the way she said it too. She was like, "You should do this and you should do that. Why don't you have the roller coaster working? Why don't you? The super train is coming. Like she wants you to open up stores or retail or something like that."
Yeah. was good.
He's clearly doing something right.
Yeah,
Whatever he's doing is working, and it's working well.
I'm sold. I mean, I'm going to be one of your guests in the next
Convince
couple of
Brent to
months.
come to Nevada, which I've been trying to do for the last year and a
Yeah.
half. So